This is Critical Commentary with Maurice Williams. Today we'll be discussing Trump deploying the National Guard to American cities and every white supremacist's favorite topic, crime. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes gonna talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about there are 2 genders. I sat next to a hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime, but I never call. Send the National Guard. This week, Trump deployed the National Guard to Illinois as they prepare for deployment to Chicago, and he sent them to Illinois to begin training to patrol the area of Chicago. They will later potentially be going to New Orleans, Memphis, and some other American cities. Trump is saying that he's sending the National Guard to help with lawlessness, so to curb crime, and to also assist ICE agents. Many of the cities that are being looked at, however, have sued Trump because they believe that what Trump is doing is not legal. I believe that Trump is doing this as a sort of red meat to his MAGA base, because what he's trying to do is say that his administration is tough on crime, and specifically they're trying to be tough on crime in urban cities. So the Republicans tend to have a higher percentage of white voters, and the Democrats tend to have a higher percentage per capita of Hispanics and blacks and Asians. So Trump is trying to signal to his base that he is trying to take care of the problem that is happening within the black and Hispanic community. Besides just the racial aspect with MAGA, also Republicans have an issue with some of the liberal sexual policies of white liberals. So it's not just a racial thing with Republicans. They also have an issue with just the city as a whole. As these cities who the Republicans have an issue with, so basically in America now, we kind of have like a red state, blue state situation where every time something's going on like crime, we all kind of agree that there's an issue. Everyone still argues because the two sides see it through 2 perspectives. So what the Democrat-run cities are trying to do is they're trying to, even though they're aware that they have a crime problem, they're trying to stop Trump and the Republicans from fixing that crime problem using the military. So with Oregon is one of the cities, but also Illinois, Chicago, and potentially New Orleans is looking into they're looking into suing Trump and stating that the military and the off branch of the National Guard is not supposed to be used on American citizens. Basically, the military is trained for war, so they understand the rules of engagement globally, the rules of war, and they're trained to, for the most part, kill people. They're not trained in the way that police officers are trained to police American citizens. So a police officer takes training to learn the American laws and understand what rules can and can't be broken, and they what are the procedures for detaining someone, what are the procedures for arresting someone, and then also what are the procedures for collecting evidence. So this is what police already are trained to do. Now, when you send the National Guard, what you are doing, you are sending higher powered weapons, and you're sending more force. So police generally have like Glocks and smaller guns, whereas the National Guard is going to have assault rifles and stronger weaponry. When you send the National Guard, you are bringing more force. So this could curb crime, but the potential setback that the Democrats are concerned about is these people are not trained in what is legal and what is illegal. They're not trained in how to collect evidence. They're not trained with how to detain and what you can detain for. So because of this, these cities who have sued Trump, one of them had a success. Oregon, Trump's deployment was blocked because the federal judge was saying this is not legal and these people are not prepared to deal with that situation. We will see if This also needs to be done in Chicago, New Orleans, Memphis, and some of the other cities that Trump is considering deploying the National Guard to. Because of the legal trouble Trump is having to get his wishes carried out with the National Guard, he's considering, which is out of pocket to me, but he's considering invoking the Insurrection Act. So the Insurrection Act has not been used much in American history. It's really for when people are trying to overthrow the government, an actual insurrection. It's been used in like the 1700s and the 1800s, but Trump is going to be trying to state that they have to send in the troops to protect the American citizens from the violent criminals in the inner cities. What's ironic about this is that January 7th, well, not January 6th, a few years ago, there was an actual insurrection where American citizens stormed the Capitol. You guys have probably seen the video. Stormed the Capitol, broke windows, were chanting that they were looking for Mike Pence, the vice president, and other sitting members of Congress. So Trump did not call that an insurrection and was on the side of the people who stormed into the Capitol. Someone actually died at the hands of that riot, if you want to call it. It was either a riot or an insurrection. So we, at Critical Commentary, we will continue following the story of where the National Guard is deployed, how it works out. It was actually sent to Washington, D.C., and it worked out well. They were there for a 2-week period. The murder did go down. Some of the people who they weren't profiled, but some of the people who interacted with the National Guard said things were hard on them. But there were many videos online of people in Washington, D.C. of all racial groups, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, saying that they did feel safer when the National Guard was there. So when Trump sent the National Guard, there were some positive effects in Washington. However, there were also clips of the National Guard picking up trash. So it kind of shows both sides. The extra force can be helpful, but the amount of force that was sent to some degree was unnecessary because it wasn't, not that it wasn't that much crime. There was a lot of crime happening, but the National Guard was not utilized because once they weren't having murders, they went through a stretch of maybe 14 days with no murders. Well, when there weren't any murders, there was nothing for the National Guard to do. So like with most things in America, maybe we should consider compromise and look a little deeper and a little critical into everything. You may not need to send 500 military officers to DC or 500 military officers to Chicago. Maybe just having a certain number like 25 to 50 or something like that in certain areas where there are pockets of crime, having that strong force, it may deter the criminals, but you don't need this overwhelming use of military resources in cities where they have crime, but it's not as intense as the media and some of the politicians try to portray. Continuing with our conversation on crime in America, because as I've discussed even in this episode, there is some racial component. We're looking at a Republican president and a Republican administration who has a constituency that it is actually predominantly white, but also per capita, white people are more likely to vote Republican than Democrat. When looking at this through a racial lens, you'll see that the president is focusing on Democratic areas, but not focusing on places like Appalachia who vote Republican. So there's a multitude of reasons for this. When you discuss crime, you have to consider race. Yes, Asians, whites, Hispanics, and blacks commit crime at different rates. So there's some racial component, and some of what people are implying is correct. But also there's a geographical component, and also there's a class component, because there's a lot of crime happening, but people are talking about violent crime. So you're talking about a racial issue with impulse control. That's the term I've been looking for a couple episodes that I keep telling you guys that racial stuff is genetic. It's impulse control, but different races of people have different levels of impulse control, and also the different classes tend to have some impulse control differences, which may have something to do with IQ. It may not, but they have done studies looking into both of these topics. And they've also done a study, which I'm about to pull up, about rats. And the study on rats touches on what I'm saying about geography. You have small towns which have a small amount of people. You have suburbs which also have a small amount of people. But you have cities which have a lot of people. So when they did this study on the rats, which I'm going to pull up, this is a TikTok of someone discussing the study, so it's not the actual study. They did the study on the rats. They made sure the rats, they had a small amount of rats. They gave them the resources they needed. They saw how they behaved. They had introduced a larger number of rats, and they also had the same amount of resources that they needed to behave. But even though the rats in the second part had the resources that they need, there were so many rats in the area that the rats begin to behave differently. So to draw a comparison to what we're talking about, you may have a small town where people act a certain way. Some of that may be because of culture, but some of that also may just be because of the space they're living in. So when you compare a larger city, even if the city has the resources, so you can plan out and say, we need this many houses, we need this many police, we need this much water, we need this much electricity. They did all that in the rat study. The rats had everything they needed. But the rats in the smaller city who had everything they needed prospered. They had children at a faster rate. They behaved healthier and had better eating habits, etc. In the same study where there were more rats but all the same resources, the rats didn't behave the same, and the scientists are saying that they believe that happened because of something that's a phenom we see that is called mob mentality, which I also describe gang violence using the mob mentality analysis. So what it is the behavior of the people or the animals changes because so many people are doing something. The other animals adapt that style. So you may have a small town where people are doing well and a couple people do bad, but those couple people don't influence the larger majority. But when you're dealing with a city or a small geographic area with a lot of people, it could still be a small amount of people doing something bad, but that small amount is larger in terms of its total number, which we will touch on when I discuss New Orleans and Chicago crime. But also that influence is a lot stronger because people aren't as separated. So people are intermingling and for some reason, scientists have not stated why yet. In this small area, the small group of people doing bad has somewhat of a stronger effect on the larger population. So that's why in the city you may have gang violence, but you may also have the riots, like at the college campuses, where it's like, okay, those kids at their homes or in their natural environment, they are peaceful, but you get them together, they get hyper, they start banging. I think that was Colombia. They start banging chairs and tying up doors and things. So let me play this study so you can at least follow what I'm saying about the rats study.
A horrifying mouse utopia experiment that shocked scientists by its disastrous outcome is one of the most interesting experiments I've ever read. And here's what we can learn from it. In 1968, American scientist John Callan created an environment for mice that had everything: unlimited food, clean water, the perfect climate, and hundreds of nests. In theory, this utopia could support nearly 4,000 mice. To start, Callan just placed 8 mice. And just like Noah's Ark, 4 males and 4 females would go on to populate this utopia. At first, everything looked perfect. The mice bred rapidly, their numbers doubling every 2 months. By day 315, the population reached 600 mice. Eventually, it peaked at 2,200 mice, still far below the maximum capacity. But then, the nightmare began. Despite endless resources, the population began to collapse. Callan noticed disturbing behavior. Some males became withdrawn, spending their days grooming themselves obsessively and refusing to fight or mate. He called them the influencers. Just kidding, the actual term he used was the beautiful ones. There were also dominant males that guarded their own harem and prevented the weaker ones from accessing it. These weaker mice would hang out with the females, but not to mate with them. Interestingly enough, these weaker mice would instead attempt to mate with the dominant males. What? That's so interesting, right? But then, the females also started to abandon and even kill their young. Violence and hypersexuality spread, with mice attacking each other at random. Eventually, reproduction ceased entirely, and by the experiment's 5th year, every last mouse was dead. But the chilling part is, the environment never failed them. There was always ample food, water, and shelter. What failed was society itself. Callan coined the term behavioral sink to describe this collapse. A downward spiral caused not by scarcity, but by the loss of meaningful roles roles within a community. But why does this matter? Perhaps Universe 25 wasn't just about mice, but a mirror held up to humanity. Perhaps material abundance alone isn't enough for a thriving society. Humans and other animals need social purpose, community, and skills for social interaction to prevent the collapse of civilization. And perhaps we too are living in our own Universe 25. However, at the end of the day, they are still just mice, and humans are far more complex with our culture, technology, and self-awareness giving us resilience. But the experiment does remain as a haunting reminder that without struggle, connection, and meaning, even paradise can become a prison. This is...
So as you heard from that video, they did this study and the resources weren't the issue, but just the amount of people in a small geographic location can have effect on people's behavior. I want you to consider this when we're discussing per capita with crime, because I want to compare New Orleans, which is considered a big city, but it's kind of like middle size. We're going to compare New Orleans to a small town to the larger Chicago and Los Angeles. So actually, some years, New Orleans has a higher murder rate per capita than Los Angeles and Chicago. But whenever people discuss crime, they always bring up Chicago and Los Angeles. And the reason for this is there are many cities that have a black crime problem, black murder problem. So New Orleans has a murder problem amongst blacks. But the amount of blacks being murdered in New Orleans is not even close to the number in Chicago. About maybe 200 blacks might be murdered in New Orleans, whereas 600 is a figure people often hear. 600 blacks some years are murdered in Chicago. So even though New Orleans has a higher murder rate, people don't discuss New Orleans because what they are doing is they are picking the place with more murders, which is Chicago. But Chicago has 1.5 million people or 1.7 million people, whereas New Orleans only has 300 to 400,000 people. So both places have a murder problem. In New Orleans, some years has a worse murder problem. But what people are discussing is the total number of murders. So with large American cities, they've always been a problem with crime, murders, and other violent crime in major American cities, regardless of race, because just the amount of people in itself has some effect on that. Maybe not all the effect. Race has played some role. Also, the class of the people, in that a city is going to have all levels of classes. You're going to have lower class, middle class, and upper class. While a suburb, you can kind of stipulate that you have to have X amount of dollars, so that will keep the lower class away. Or in a rural place, it has the lower class, but they don't have any of the technology or some of the benefits of the upper class. So just basically the way cities are designed in comparison to suburbs and small towns, you are going to have more of a crime problem and more of a violent crime problem in cities. Specifically speaking about per capita, since I discussed New Orleans and Chicago, I have some figures for you guys. When looking at males 25 to 40, 25 to 40, 25 to 45, the highest rate of murder is black males, as people may have seen from clips or just hearing people talk. The rate per 100,000 is like 70 black males in every 100,000 is committing murder. What you may not know is that specifically in Appalachia, which is places like Oklahoma, Kentucky, West Virginia, which I brought up many times because West Virginia has a 90% white population and like a 3 or 4% black population. In Appalachia, which is predominantly white, amongst males 25 to 45, the murder rate is something like 35 to 40 in 100,000. So it's not as high as the blacks in that same age group, but it's higher than the national rate, and it is also higher than the rate of just whites on average. So just whites on average, every 100,000 whites, maybe like 2 to 3 commit murder. As you can see, in Appalachia, the rate is 10 times more, so that's a problem. And then also the rate of murder amongst whites 25 to 40 is actually higher than the rate of blacks, because they say blacks have a murder problem. The rate of blacks committing murder is 20 murders or 20 murderers per 100,000 blacks. But the Appalachia rate amongst white males, well, not specifically white males, but just Appalachia, is 35 to 40. So the murder problem in Appalachia is worse than the murder problem in the black community. So I would say, just looking at the statistics, we would have to say that, and I didn't bring up Hispanics, but Hispanics are lower than blacks lower than blacks, but higher than whites. So just looking at the statistics, I would say that the young black males have a murder problem. I would say the young males in Appalachia have a murder problem, and then I would also say that the black culture and the black population as a whole has a murder problem. So if we're trying to crack down on violent crime, we need to send the National Guard to all of these places. Stepping away from crime and the National Guard, I came across a clip. I think we're going to just add this into the show. While we discuss current events, I'll also just comment or respond to various videos either myself or the producer comes across. So I'm aware of Emily, as you guys know, so I saw something that she said, but then my producer also came with the video as well. So there's a few videos we'll respond to today. So let me pull up an Emily video. I guess. Okay. Yeah, we do Emily, and then this. I think the second one's a Nick interview. Okay, we'll do Emily first. Volume's up.
Every day, it's so depressing. It's a video of a migrant attacking a little girl, an innocent woman, the grooming gangs. It's unbelievable.
There's a whole lot going on already with her. Okay, every day there's a video. I don't like when people pull up a video of something and then attribute it to large groups of people. I guess she hasn't done that yet, but based upon the 3 statements I heard, she said every day it's a migrant with a little girl or someone else doing something. It just seems like she's about to go in on migrants, but let's see if that's
well. And then what do? They arrest the local normal people for speaking out against it. Europe needs remigration, and
I have seen that the European government, I'm not going to say they aren't arresting criminals, but I have seen that certain statements that are made by Europeans have gotten them fined or arrested. I'm in America, we have free speech. I am confused with Europe arresting people for making comments which may sound or seem racist. Racism can be an issue. It is an issue. Bigotry is a problem, but I'm not sure why they arrest people for making comments. I don't know about whether or not they're arresting the immigrants. She's implying that they aren't arresting immigrants. I'm not sure about that.
You need it years ago, because once they're here and they're there and they're having kids, their kids are getting citizenship, how are you going to get them all out?
So much is happening so fast with her. So now she's saying that immigrants are a problem, and then she's saying if they come, they're going to have children, yes. And she's saying that those children are going to be a problem, but you can assimilate because America has a diverse population and people can assimilate and follow the cultural norms of that society. That's literally what America is. It's a melting pot, and it was based upon people from different time periods, whether East Asians, African Americans, Africans, Europeans coming together and forming a country. So I'm not following why the immigration has to be a problem. Maybe it's a problem now because the immigrants haven't caught on to the culture they left from. I don't see why she can already know down the line they're going to be a problem.
You guys, there's a reason why we have different countries. They're supposed to be different. This whole melting pot experiment we've tried has failed.
I think America is one of the strongest countries in the world. I'm not sure how we failed. As far as most statistics, we're at the top, whether it's education, whether it's sports, and just the economy. I think America's doing well. I mean, America can do better, but I don't see why she would say that America's failed. Then also she says they have different countries for a reason. I probably should let this play to see where she's going to go, because I'm thinking race, and I'm just thinking that amongst Europe, there are many countries and they're all white. Amongst Asia, there are not as many countries as Europe, but there are a few countries in Asia and they're all Asians. There are a few countries in Africa, but people are all black. Well, not all black. In sub-Saharan Africa, they're black. Like last time I touched on, they have lighter skinned people who could pass as white, North Africa, and then East Africa, they're dark skinned but have a different type of hair. But basically what I'm saying is in different countries, they have different races, and amongst the races, there are more countries than races. So I'm not following her at the moment, but let's see.
The media lies to us like, oh, it's a woman and children who are escaping for a better life. And then we see the videos. It's literally boats filled with military-aged men. They come from Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia. Do any of these places align with our values?
Okay, there's a lot going on. So I'm looking at this racially, and that's maybe why I have a problem with Emily. But I can see, I probably don't agree with how she's gonna continue going with this, but I can see she picked out some Middle Eastern countries. So they are like, they follow the Islamic religion, which the religion isn't the issue, but they're under dictatorships. They're not under democracies, or they're under not necessarily dictatorships, but like autocratic societies that just aren't under the rule of like a democracy. They have sometimes a king or a monarch. Other times they have parliaments, but they're more so controlled. They have less freedom than Americans and parts of Western Europe. So I could understand how she's saying people that come from that form of government, when they are introduced to the more democratic style government, I can see where there's a clash. So just with the countries that she named, I see a different value perspective because of the type of government, not so much the religion or the race.
Are these places you want to live? Do you want to live by these people? No, this isn't compassion. It's literally cultural suicide. We've done it and we tried the experiment. They came here, they abused our system.
But see, I think that right, we have people from the Middle East here, whether you're talking about Palestine, whether you're talking about Iran, whether you're talking about Syria, whether you're talking about Egypt. We have people here. They're not causing a problem. So I'm not understanding how the experiment failed. We have those ethnicities in America. I don't hear people walking around talking about the Egyptians in America committing murder or rape. I don't hear the people in America talking about the Iraqis. The Iraqis are Iraqis are causing committing murder or rape in America. So yeah, I kind of see what she's trying to say, but then we're doing fine with those ethnicities. So I disagree with her on that point.
They abused our people and the locals. It's a net negative, and now they all have to go. We need new leadership around the world, okay? The fact that
I don't know what she knows about the world. I don't know much, but I think she should just stick to talking about America, because even what she's saying about America is wrong. So I'm just going to assume what she's saying about the world is wrong. We need new leadership across the world, she's saying.
In 12 months, you can make these beautiful places genuinely unrecognizable is beyond me. And I have to believe that this is done.
Okay. I have never traveled out the country. I believe that I have seen that she recently went to Israel. But the comment that she's saying, where she's saying these countries are unrecognizable, Europe has been diverse for a very long time. I know people who have went to Europe, like older, well, they happen to be black, but I know older people who have gone to Europe and they've made comments about the diversity of blacks and other nationalities in Europe. So to say in just the last 12 months they're unrecognizable, I don't think that's diversity. What I will say, though, is yes, during the Biden administration, there was a larger amount of immigration worldwide. So not just in America, but across the whole world. Now, I haven't paid attention to if that was famine, if that was policies. I don't know why, but yes, maybe immigration isn't the problem, but maybe we need to maybe watch how many people from different cultures we bring into not just America, but other cultures. Maybe they just shouldn't be too much mass migration.
On purpose. These are not just refugees. These are literally hostile, foreign, military-age men migrants. They're taking over the streets, they're changing local culture, and they're grabbing political power to enforce their way of life. So let's not act like...
Sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. I mean, I don't think any of that's happening. I don't know about people grabbing power. I don't know about people marching up the streets. I mean, you have a bunch of migrants. Some of them are a problem. So that's an issue, but I don't know if it's like a coordinated effort or if it's as widespread as she's saying the negativity.
This isn't happening in America as well. When the asylum applications are rejected, I want to know, who do you think they're taking that anger out on? Yeah, the locals. So, I mean, not only do we have our own problems here, everywhere else, you guys got to wake up. It's not going to end well for any of us. Every day, it's...
Yeah, I mean, some of what she said might have been true, but I mean, it was just a lot, and I'm not sure. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. So what she said, in my head, I have some things playing out that I've seen on X. So there are a few like anti-Semitic people who I know who were kind of saying that globalism is a a problem that is being perpetuated by who they call the Jews, which is like a small group of people there saying are behind the mass migration. She didn't say that, but that's the only thing I could see where she said wake up and pay attention to what's going on. I mean, is there some coordinated effort she's talking about? I'm not sure. I don't think there is. Go to the Nick clip next. Make this big for you guys so you can see it. Let me read the title. Nick Fuentes explains the origin of the ADL. I ended my thing mentioning Jewish people, and I did. All right, it's too many Jew jokes. It's too much going on, guys. I didn't plan for that. Oh man.
And let's just first talk about what the ADL is. Let's just talk about who they are and where they come from. They're called the Anti-Defamation League, which is a bit vague. And a bit strange also. Many groups, they sort of contain the fundamental conceit in their name. The Republican Jewish Coalition, the RJC, is a coalition of Republican Jews. And APAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is a public affairs committee that is in favor of the U.S.-Israel relationship. It's right there in the name. Anti-Defamation League. They're a league that is against the defamation. Defamation of who? Defamation in general? Of what? Of who? They were created because of the accusations against an American Jew by the name of Leo Frank.
Okay, so a lot of people don't know what the ADL is. I've known about the ADL, and I thought and still think they're just about people being defamed across the board. But I see that he was saying that they're specific organizations that are aimed at protecting Jewish people or influencing America in for the benefit of Israel, which obviously Jewish people live in Israel. So he brought up APAC and another organization that in the name, or the Republican Jewish organization, who they say they're Jewish, and then they try to help Jewish interests. Okay, so I'm following that, and then he brought up ADL, and he said the ADL doesn't name the Jews, well, not the Jews, I gotta work on this, guys, but they name Jewish people in the title. So yes, the ADL doesn't name Jewish people. I believe that's because the ADL is about defaming everyone, but let's see where he's taking this. We're not about defaming them, but protecting people who are defamed across the board, like other minorities, whether religious, whether racial, whether economic. I just thought the ADL was about protecting American citizens from defamation.
Who was accused of raping and murdering a little girl in America. And this is a time of many charges like this against Jews, like the Dreyfus affair in France.
Okay, so it's a lot going on. I don't know Leo Franks. I've seen the name. A few people that I follow on X, I've seen them post about it. Okay, so Leo Frank, he's saying is Jewish and he may have abused a minor. Now he's bringing up someone in France who may have done it. But see, I don't know where Nick's going with this, but to me, it's like you can connect anything to Jewish people if you're doing it the way that he's kind of setting it up. He mentioned some Jews and Jewish groups in politics. Then he mentioned the Defamation League. They don't even say they're Jewish, but I guess I'm going to find out from this or looking into it that Jewish people are in control, they say, are in power in the Anti-Defamation League. Now he says someone in America basically is a pedophile. There was a Jewish pedophile named Leo Frank, but then he says there was a Jewish pedophile in another country. I mean, they probably have Jewish pedophiles in not all Jewish people are pedophiles. I'm just saying they may have one or multiple Jewish pedophiles in every country. So I don't know how this is about to tie together, but let me give him a chance, see where he's going.
Leo Frank affair in the United States, where Jews, like blacks and like other minority group.
What I'm saying with this dude, one Jew did something in America. A Jew did something in France. Now the Jews as a whole are doing something. The whole thing been about Jews, and now he go, all right, well, we just gonna talk about the blacks too. That's why I'm on your ass, nigga, because you be bullshitting.
For being accused of things. And those respective communities claimed that this constituted a defamation. The charges again.
Bro, you are literally well, maybe you haven't done it yet, but you're going down a path of setting up like defaming groups because you started talking about a couple Jews. It sounds like you're about to talk about Jews, and then you said blacks. So it just, I should have let you finish because maybe I stopped this too early. I see that you setting up an example, so let me let this whole thing play out because I just cut you off at the blacks. My bad.
Jews or blacks or other marginalized groups constituted a form of defamation. That's what they said. I'm not saying that. That's what they said. That's where the name.
But see, okay, Nick, this is the reason why that happens. How people talk about the Jews is like you're lumping in either every Jew or most Jews or a large portion of Jews when you say the Jews, because if it's only a couple Jews, why are you saying the Jews? If it's only a couple blacks or a small amount of blacks, why are you saying the blacks? I think, just as I said earlier in this reaction, the thing is, people are trying to prevent large groups of people from being stereotyped and treated unfairly, whether like in cultural ways or even legal ways, right? They're just trying to protect that bias so that everybody has a fair opportunity in work, school, play, etc. They're trying to make sure that we don't get to the point where you see a black person, you think this, or you see a Jew and you think this. So, I mean, I agree with what the ADL, I'm not going to say I agree with the ADL, but I agree with what the ADL says they were formed to do, and you're saying what they were formed to do, and I agree with them being formed to do that.
Name comes from. They said Leo Frank was defamed as a killer, pedophile, rapist because he was Jewish. That was a defamation of Jews as a group because they're marginal. And this,
man, this stuff gets tricky. Him being a pedophile is a problem. He should go to jail or should have went to jail. Any connection to him being Jewish, I think the ADL should have been, I'm not going to say, since it hadn't been formed yet, this is why it's formed, but let's say it was already formed. The ADL should step in situations like that because just because a Jewish person does something doesn't mean that all Jews should be tied to it. So yes, I would say that if a Jewish person did something and people tried to tie the religion to his pedophilia, that's a problem. You shouldn't tie an individual's pedophilia to a religion, a race, a gender, or anything else.
Same way that blacks are defamed, and the same way that other ethnic, racial, religious minorities were attacked on the basis of their minority status, they're being defamed as criminals, rapists, murderers, whatever. Of course, Leo Frank was most likely guilty, but that is where the name comes from. So the Anti-Defamation League is born, and it is a subsidiary of the B'nai B'rith, which is an international Jewish society. It's a Jewish group. But Jewish is not in the name. It is a Jewish group. And if you read their mission statement, it says that they're dedicated specifically to fighting anti-Semitism, building up the Jewish community, and defending Israel.
Okay, we agree here. So there are things that the ADL does in terms of Israel. I didn't know about the B'nai aspect, but there are things that ADL does in respect to Israel that me as an American citizen, I feel as though America can have any allies they want. And I have no problem with Israel being our strongest ally if it's in the benefit of America. But I do see, I'm not saying, he didn't just say this, but just me following some of the recent history, whether the Gaza war or other things, there is a connection of America. We call Israel our greatest ally. And there are times where it seems to me that America, I don't want to go as far as to say they put Israel interests in front of America, but you definitely could see it's like, just because Israel is involved, America doesn't need to be involved. If Israel has an enemy, it doesn't have to be America's enemy. If Israel needs something, America shouldn't be the only people to have to help. There is I'll say a weird connection between Israel and America where Israel is a sovereign nation, just like Britain, for example. I feel like America has not gone to war with Britain other than the initial American Revolution, right? World War I and II, I believe we were on the side of Britain. We have a relationship with Britain. Britain is a strong ally of ours, but we don't make our foreign policy based upon Britain or any other country in the European Union. So I would say that Israel, based upon Western values, because Israel has Western values. I mean, the Gazans would be tougher on the Israelis than the Israelis would be on the Gazans in terms of like laws and things of that nature. So I see how Israel has some similar values. They have capitalism. They have a democracy. Everybody's voting. They may do that in Hamas, Gaza, but a lot of these Islamic extremist places, I don't trust it. It's kind of like Russia. You're voting Russia, but I don't know if you really get a vote. But yeah, with Israel, there's a lot of Western and democratic value. So I do see why they would be an ally. But the whole greatest ally thing, I think there's something nefarious with that. We might need to relook at that. Or look into it more.
And they're explicitly born of the international Jewish community, part and parcel of the Jewish community. They're considered a Jewish group and a constituent member of the Organization of Major American Groups. Okay? That's what the ADL is.
After seeing this clip, I want to dig into the ADL more. I did know they had some Jews involved because I've commented on the ADL before. I didn't know it was a Jewish-run organization necessarily. I guess I knew but didn't think about it because I guess a lot of times things happen with them. I do notice a Jewish slant, but like I say, they've covered other groups, so that's why I thought it wasn't just Jewish. But Nick is providing a lot of information that I didn't know as he's done a couple other episodes. So I guess I should look into like these. The Democrats may have it too. There was the Republican Jewish organization. There may be a Democratic Jewish organization. He said the Benign Group. He also brought up the ADL and then brought up APAC. So I'm going to dig into these Jewish organizations more just because I like to be informed. So I'm giving you guys my opinion on at this moment based upon what I know. But as I learn more, I may change, I may change my stance on a lot of these issues. Now, I'm about to go to comments, but before I even go to comments, I noticed that the video with Nick, where he said, "Dear Black people," and I responded. Later, I responded with facts. I can't remember if I responded with facts that video. But I seen a lot of people commenting, and I just wanted to say that the things you guys are saying, I'm trying to take out time to look into, and I'm open to like learning more about those topics because some of you had details in your responses to me. So I want to look into it and just find out the validity of what you're saying, and it may help me change or keep my stance on what I think about Israel and the Jewish people as a whole. But let me exit out this and go into the comments for you guys. And I'm going to continue saying people's name. My producer says that he wants me to not just say you guys' names, but he wants me to try to remember you guys because I've been getting mentions at Lil Mo Music on X. Critical Commentary's social media doesn't have any posts right now. It's criticalcommentary.cctv. So if you guys could follow, myself and the producer will begin posting content there, and we would love to talk to you on that social as well. Okay, the first comment for today, everything on the side says Nick Fuentes, dear Black people. So I guess that's the video that majority of people are commenting on. We have Ventifada. Okay, kind of make me think about Antifada, which is the Muslims. 10 minutes of crying, 75 subscribers, by the way. We just started the podcast. We appreciate all 75 subscribers. I hope you were crying laughing. Dad602, not my father. Practice speaking in front of a mirror before putting yourself online flustered and rambled. I'm not sure if I'm flustered. I think I have a good attitude. I'm just a rambler. That's how my mind works. That's how I wrote essays in school. I have a lot of thoughts. I can try to work on being more organized for you guys. The producer was getting on me for weeks about that. So, yeah, sure. That's some constructive criticism. Maybe I can prepare better, prepare more, try to organize in a logical way the whole theme and then the paragraphs, the stories, and then the conclusion. I remember this from school, who, what, where, when, why. I remember this stuff. That's just not how stuff pops in my mind. You know, I spit out the facts and I kind of analyze different. With me, it's more like brainstorming in circles. Like it might be a main point and we're discussing something, but this fact may come or that fact may come, and I'm just analyzing this small portion of this and this small portion of that. And how does it all connect? You know, I just put together things differently than some people. You didn't prove him wrong. Gang, everyone, this is Ezra MTTPTY. You guys say I didn't prove him wrong. Please watch some of the other podcasts. That's a clip. That clip, maybe as I keep repeating myself, maybe I wasn't specific, But on a lot of my podcasts, I'm specific, and a lot of the stuff Nick says is like hyperbole, it's generalized statements. IQ stuff, he's accurate but doesn't paint the whole picture. Race, he's accurate and doesn't paint the whole picture. So though generally speaking he may be correct, you guys send me a lot of facts about various people, about various organizations. So you guys seem to be sticklers on facts. So just check out the other episodes and see if some of my facts are correct. And as you commented negatively about me, please feel free to state if your opinion of me has changed or if you gained some information from the episodes. This I know from X. So X Bleach 88X said N. Usually when someone says N, they're trying to start, because they won't let you call someone a nigger on social media. They'll usually say N, and then a bunch of people, I'm assuming are white, will pile up behind and say Nigger. So I don't see this in my YouTube comments, thankfully. But you're reminding me that I do need to do a deep dive on the word nigger so that true low IQ whites can better understand what the word means and understand why I don't take it as an insult. I know you mean it as an insult, but you're not intelligent enough to understand what you're saying, which is not surprising because you're low IQ. Okay. Tosh God Ufal off fools. You're based as fuck. Okay, so this is also someone who seems that like they're on the right, but they said I'm based, which is a compliment on the right. So thank you, Tosh. Welcome to the right. I'm in the middle. I'm a libertarian. I'm not on you guys' side, but you know, I appreciate the welcome, or at least right of MAO. I don't know what MAO is, but yeah, I'm following you, bro. I may not be to the right, but I'm of the right of the liberals and some stuff going on the left. Looking forward to more of your content. Please subscribe, hit the like button if you like something, and of course, you've already left a comment. Send more. You know, I'd love to talk to you. If there's any specific thing you want me to cover, let me know. Share with friends. You know, share with friends on the right. If this show goes how I like, I would love for the right and left to be watching the show so we could really, like, I want to sit down and talk with you guys, but maybe on social media, we should push more conversations. Any of you who follow me, I know I keep plugging mine, and it's not the one the producer wants plugged, but on X, I'm LILMOEMUSIC. I tag a lot of people. So I've tagged like Jake Shields, he's an anti-Semitic, and I tagged Emily, who I mentioned in another episode. They're on two opposite sides, but Jake is cool with me, Emily's cool with me. They're not cool with each other, but they both have like valid points. I keep tagging them. Maybe they don't know why I'm tagging both of them, but I'm tagging them hoping that maybe they could talk to one another, right? Because Emily's a cool person. Jake's a cool person. They're not politicians, but on social media, they could still talk to one another, and maybe like their followers, even though they don't agree, could get into some dialogues and we could find a way to peacefully exist. I'm not saying that I expect the anti-Semitics to stop blaming the Jews, because they blame the Jews for everything. They blame them for the weather. If the car doesn't start, they blaming the Jews because the Jews probably created the chip that's in the car. So like, I understand that everybody's so far apart, we might can't come together totally right now. But in terms of like, see, this is what I'm telling you guys about the Ram and how everything connects. Y'all know Charlie just got shot. Elijah Schaefer said he's getting death threats. He's worried. What I think could happen if Emily and Jake talk is we wouldn't dehumanize one another if we got in fights but knew who we were, right? So an anti-Semitic person could blame Jews, but if you know the Jews and you know Jewish people, you may dislike them, but you won't hate them. You won't shoot them. So I'm not trying to make the two sides agree. I'm just trying to make the two sides say, nah, kind of like our founders, how we have a republic. Let's talk it out, guys. The violence is ridiculous. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons I said last episode, let the white people say nigga. It's like, bro, you call the other white people nigga, the white people can't work. We need white people to have jobs. You call them a nigga, the black people want to fight them. We can't be beating people up. Like, they wrong to say nigga, they being racial. I think the way to get back at them is like what I'm about to do with the whole explaining them what the word nigga means. They saying we stupid. Educate ourselves. Don't come back with violence. Come back at them with words. Show them who are calling you stupid. I must not be that stupid if I'm able to provide you with information you didn't know. Okay, I'm not sure how much time I have, but I'm going to keep going. The producer told me talk to as many of you as I can. Danny Davey 293, usual black person, no accountability. The first episode, Danny, Well, Dan the Davy. The first episode is called The Usual Suspect, and it discusses black crime. We have a black crime problem in America, so I think I do take accountability. Truth Hurts from Joe 551. Joe or probably Joe M551. You see, guys, I ramble because I just got particular things get stuck in my head. I think I have like OCD. But Truth Hurts. I'm black and I avoid black neighborhoods like crazy. Well, then go to Appalachia if you think it's safe. Like I always say, if the whites think West Virginia is a utopia, move there. You proved him right. About Nick, okay. That was, let's see who it's from. That's from Mole's Son My Cheek. Man, you guys have the most interesting names. Charlie 4B, I can follow that. 2813 says the guy that never leases, literally not in my home right now. We're in the office space. And I try to get around. I went to school in Mobile. I went to school in Baton Rouge. I'm from New Orleans. I've traveled. I don't know what you mean. I haven't gone to Israel like Emily, but I've traveled in America. Nick is right. Nick is right. More than his haters say. You got people I've seen think Nick is stupid. They call him, he's low IQ with some of the takes, but they call him stupid. They say he's always wrong. They say he's a bad person. I haven't said he was a bad person. I don't know him. I haven't said he was always wrong. I feel like it's almost 50-50 when I do these reactions. Not a lot. There's a decent portion of things that he says that are correct. A woman saying N-word is not remotely the same as a dude murdering someone. I totally agree. Words are words, and murdering someone is violence. That's from Nightlight 5. Okay, Danielle Murrith. Sorry for saying your whole name, but you got it out publicly. 8486. Black fatigue, but still focused on black issues. I can't take. Oh, nah, this is a different clip. This is not from Nick. This is a clip on me responding to Emily Saves America on social. I think her real name's Emily Wilson. Follow Emily. She blocked me. David D1 blocked me. Xavier blocked me. Everybody blocking me, but I'm shouting everybody out, right? I don't have no hate in my heart. People blocking me, and I'm just trying to ask them tough questions, to have the tough conversations that we need to have to make the country better. So on to the next one. Rostrum make me think about Wiz Khalifa and Jet Life. I'm not going to plug something with my music because the producer get on me. But eventually, if the show gets bigger, I'll plug the music. Salad Rostrum says, there's nothing critical about your commentary, G. Salad, you saw a 10-minute clip. We have 8 episodes out now. There's episodes about 30 minutes. So we have 4 hours of content where I talk about IQ. I haven't pulled up the stuff on impulse control, but I'm going to do that where they did studies on Asian babies, white babies, black babies. I think I discussed race in terms of like not just whites, black, but Northern Europeans, Southern Europeans, Eastern Europeans, Southwest Asians, East Asians, Northern Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, East Africans. You sitting here saying the commentary is not critical. I haven't seen anybody start talking about race and actually breaking it up genetically with the different Y haplos and the different hair types, the different intelligence genes. It's a bunch of things that I haven't got into. I'm 8 episodes in, but I do think anybody looking to dig deep into things, we will start digging deep, as I'm currently fighting with the producer between, like, we're trying to do a daily news show, but I'm trying to get you guys a lot of information. So we're going to figure out how we're going to unpack all of the things I want to discuss. Lynn One Baby. I don't think I've seen a more one-sided comment section in my life. This guy's I've done a terrible job of defending the blacks. I'll say this, I don't think that's black people making these comments. I get text messages from people that I know. I get responses on X where I think my content gets shown to more people. I have a bigger following on X now. Many black people appreciate what I'm doing, and I will continue to do it. I think I'm doing a good job because white people are getting upset. So if white people are getting upset, I probably am defending the blacks well. Say it ain't Jake. Man, you need to read. I don't know what it is that makes you guys think I can't read. I'm reading on the fly. I'm not following it. This is actually about the New York communism video, so I'm not sure what I said that made him think I could not read. Back to Nick again. You're so pressed. Let me guess. Your neighborhood is in fact white. My neighborhood has actually had sways over time. I know the history of it from about 1920s. I'm not gonna tell people where I live, but the area has been white, obviously, in the 20s. I think in the 60s it was still white. Around the 90s it was a mix. 2000s it was more black. Now there are whites moving back into the area. Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself middle class, and I think when I was a child I was middle class, would be considered middle class. So yeah, there've been swings in America where they've had mixed white and black, mixed all black, mixed all white. The only real place we don't get the mix is inner cities, Hispanic, black, rural, white. Everywhere else, like people talk about wealthy. The blacks in Beverly Hills aren't committing murder. So yeah, I think there's a mix regardless, and I came from a mixed area. Tosh, I think they left me a positive comment. I'm definitely reading this one. Tosh God, fools, trust those who seek the truth, but question those who claim to have found it. Yes. Tosh, I'm in alignment with you, bro. Tweet me, bro. I'll follow you, bro. I follow people I'm in disalignment with, but I'm just being honest. I mean, dudes, all these negative comments and that person is being positive. So yeah, I'm probably gonna talk to them. I hope the producer sees this. They got a few comments to Emily, because the producer was telling me about Nick and he said people were commenting on it, but there are people commenting on my response to Emily as well. So guys, we're gonna keep doing the show because we want to get the information out, the news, and then larger issues. But if you guys want like reaction videos, you can send me clips to social or Critical Commentary TV. You can send clips to social, or you can send the clips to our YouTube page. You could just leave it in the comments. And if you want us to do more reactions, I can do reactions to like a plethora of topics. So, well, I shouldn't say a plethora, but I'll send the topics and I'll see if I know something about them. I don't want to react. Well, I can react to stuff even if I don't know. That's what the producer told me. Just react how you react. All right, Andrew Striker 3549. Every action requires a reaction. Let's go to the club and have gangster shooting. Oops, Spike Lee Chirac. There are shootings everywhere. There are mass shootings by whites where they kill innocent people. At least with black people, if you didn't bother the person, you don't need to worry about them shooting your ass. For the most part, black people will kill an innocent person for a car or for jewelry or something, but that's one person. Not like the situation with the military where they're 6% of the population and they're committing 25% of the mass murders. Are we now stereotyping the military and saying if somebody's in the military, they're a danger to society? No. So let's not pick on the blacks, Mr. Andrew Striker 3549. He left another comment and I'll read it. Black fatigue is long gone. Black annoyance is here. To quote Dr. King, don't quote Dr. King if you're talking bad about blacks. Let's judge everyone on skin color. Are you Dr. Jekyll and Hyde? You sound like a completely different person. Let's judge everyone on skin color. Forget about character and you better know. You almost got me, bro. You're ending it all talking about forget about character and you bring some Glocks. I'm not with the violence. Izzy Am585. This ain't it, dog. This on Nick. Might as well delete. I'm not deleting. This is my biggest video, so I'm gonna leave this up for now. But you're proving his point. I don't think so. I have to relook at this one to find out why everybody keeps saying it. I thought when I critiqued Nick that I brought up valid points. Everybody's saying I didn't prove a single thing he said wrong, as if everything I responded to, he was right and what I said was wrong. If that is the case, I see why y'all might think I'm low IQ, but I don't think that happened. Innumerable demons. Pathetic, bro. This is again Nick. You guys are going to figure out when it's Nick based upon how people talking to me. Do some market research from your own comments here and try again. This video is not the flex you think. You're cooked. Buddy, I'm from New Orleans and I know a bit about cooking. I could make some gumbo with the shit y'all throwing at me. Jonathan Bresnahan 77. They edited their comment. It's about Nick. Hopefully they started off coming at me and changed their mind. Fatherless homes are far more prevalent in black communities. Y'all want stats? Let's go with stats. Currently, fatherless homes are about 65% of the black population and then 25% of the white population. It is higher in the black population than whites. 65 years ago, it was 3% in the white population and 25% in the black population. When it was 25 in the black population, y'all were claiming it's the same problem that it is now at 65, and y'all aren't talking about the white fatherless home situation, but it's risen from 3 to 25%. So if it was a problem when it was 25% in the black community, it's 25% in the white community, and y'all like to talk about rates. Going from 25 to 65 is a smaller rate of growth than going from 3 to 25. So just across the board is getting worse for whites. But I don't know math, right? Oh, I haven't even finished his comment. Let me continue reading. And households in America. Now, I'm no fan of Nick Fuentes myself. He's too extreme for my taste. But if that murderer, Carmelo Anthony, can raise over $500,000 for stabbing somebody, oh yeah, both of them should not have been able to raise money. And what the Shiloh woman did is not comparable to Carmelo Anthony if Carmelo Anthony committed murder. I don't know if it's self-defense. I don't know if it's murder. Who's seen the video? Who knows what's happening? I'm shouting people out again because this is just who I am. She's a Republican too. There's a Republican lady who's a journalist. She's somewhere. I don't know what state she's in, but her ex is Sarah Fields. Just type Sarah Fields. But she's been covering this case nonstop since it happened. So I don't know the particulars of the Carmelo Anthony case. But you said he's a murderer, and I don't know. I do think if he murdered someone in a gang, that's nowhere near Shiloh calling someone the N-word. And I heard recently from some black people that the kid was autistic. I don't know if that's true, but if the kid was autistic, she wouldn't know that either. But the point is, if the kid was autistic, that might play into a role of his behavior. They have X-ray vision 3802. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of Knicks again, so I go back and forth. I see what the producer's saying, then I see a few of non-Nick clips, but I mean, the producer probably looking at the data and just is like, bro, people commenting about Nick. The comment is from X-ray vision 3802. I hope people can hear me in the mic. I gotta work on this whole lean back stuff. The difference, my small little guy, let's not get into this. You don't want to start ribbing. The difference, my small little guy, is whites invented everything you use. Come on, man. Bro. Civilization, we're going to start with Homo sapiens. We won't even go back to Homo erectus. But like civilization started in Ethiopia. So people were dark-skinned and black. And they went from Ethiopia to Egypt into the Middle East, like Israel, Egypt. They went up to Southern Europe, Greece, and they went to Spain. Then they got up there to Britain, right? Then they got out there to East Asia around Japan, right? So much stuff was invented before white. Spanish people are considered white, but when people say white, I know what they mean. They mean Northern Europeans. A plethora of things were invented before white people existed. So no, everything being used was not invented by whites. Whites are an invention and come from blacks. Look into genetics. The Asians have already said it. The Jewish doctors have already said it, and black people have been saying it for as long as I know, okay? So white people, you come later. There's nothing wrong with you guys, but please don't try to poke your chest out or say you're better than other people. Are the children better than the parents? It's a sign of respect. How about that, white people? You show us blacks some respect. Know where you came from. There goes my hero. John Fletcher 948. I hope he's black, but if he's black, that speaks to you guys saying I didn't defend the blacks well. They said I'm their hero or giving me positive feedback to keep going. Lamb Warrior. Bro, just so upset, can't even make any valid claims, just insults. Well, ever since that reaction, I have been coming with stats. I have been coming with valid perspectives and valid information. So if you continue to watch, hopefully I change your mind about not having valid claims. This is one angry black. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not a kid. That's from Push Local 5040. This is a tough one to say. It's just a bunch of letters. It might be an African name. I don't even know. But the last is 6082. You'll know your last four numbers on your name. I'm not even going to spell it. It's a lot. The truth is, people like Nick Fuentes and a lot of those in the comments, I may say your name because I agree with what you're saying. The truth is, people like Fuentes and a lot of those in the comments are racist as fuck. But try to justify it after the fact. White people are overrepresented among PDF files. That must mean pedophile. I'll have to check and see if YouTube will let us say pedophile. And predators. I don't know if what you said is true, but there are a lot of white pedophiles. I don't want to say they overrepresent without looking at the numbers. as a white person, you are statistically more likely to be murdered by a white person than by a black. Yes, whites are more likely to be murdered by whites than they are to be murdered by a black. Every race is more at risk around white person than any race around other. Now, I don't know about that. It may be because of the mass murder situation, but I don't know. This is statistically a fact. If we were to apply Fuentes' logic consistently, all whites got them, get them. Man, I wish I knew your name. AANUOLUWANIKO Like I say, maybe from Africa or another country. If you are, please share this. If you're worldwide, I would love to be able to reach out to the whole world, because we're talking about not just American issues. We're talking about South Africa, North Africa, Europe, and all that. Southern Europe. But yeah, all white. Yeah, using his logic, all whites are pedophiles, mass shooters, and sex pests. I don't believe that is the case. Right. I don't believe some of the things I'm saying. I'm being facetious, guys. SAT word. I'm being facetious. In response to what Nick is saying, I'm saying this. In response to what the anti-Semitics are saying, I am saying this. In response to the liberals or in response to the Republicans, I am saying this. My stance on pretty much everything is you have a wide range of people. I don't stereotype groups from the standpoint of thinking any individual I meet is like that, or even most people I meet. I meet you just like Jake is with people. I meet every individual. I treat them as an individual and their group. I look at the group of blacks as kind. I look at the groups of whites as kind. I look at the groups of Jews as kind. I think white people are kind. Like, they did kill the the Native Americans. That's not funny. They did kill the Native Americans, but the society that they have created allows everybody to vote. It allows for welfare for people who don't have. It allows for education, K through 12, to be free. It's abundantly clear that white people have done great things for the world. That's not the question. The question becomes when you come at my people, the blacks, and you say that bullshit, like you say some dude who's selling drugs or some dude that killed a woman or stabbed a woman on a train, you start telling me that represent blacks. Oh, we got to get on y'all ass because there's a lot of wrong going around for everybody. But in totality, no, all the groups are good. The Muslims are good as a group. Right now, people are getting on the extreme Muslims. Extremists on all sides is an issue, and as an American, I can see how extreme Muslims and the Antifada and the people talking about we're going to kill ourselves and go to heaven. I can see how that's a problem, but there's a lot of discipline in Islam and the Muslim religion. So my thing is that if we were kind to the Muslims and showed them respect, they respect Jesus, they think he's coming back. If we showed them respect, we would change a lot of hearts and minds. Now, I'm not saying change the mind of the people who are trying to kill you, but I'm just saying the whole religion. I don't think Iraqis hate blacks or Iraqis hate Europeans. They just only know the Europeans blowing up their nation, right? So they got a somewhat biased view of what they consider white. I obviously think if we all were able to talk and see what was happening worldwide, that we would see we have much more in common than we have different. I lost train of thought up. And I read that already. Okay. You don't listen to this piece of dung. Oh, that was the person I like. Okay, on to the next comment. PMO Drat. This is see, there's a few. This is an Emily comment. A comment to the Emily reaction. Every culture had slaves, but it was the white Western Christian nations that tried to end slavery. Correct. Whites were the first to end slavery. Or at least try to. The Eastern nations did nothing without the guns of the West on them. Okay, the Muslims castrated their slaves, right? Muslims somewhat treated their slaves, not somewhat, I guess castration is worse. Muslims castrated the sub-Saharan African slaves. Europeans did not. So chattel slavery is bad, and what whites did to blacks is bad. Well, not Europeans, what they did to sub-Saharan Africans is bad. But I am very aware, and that doesn't get talked about, that the people in the Middle East were very disrespectful and dehumanized African Americans. So that is true. In the Western Christian nations that came up with Western nations did not come up with individual freedoms. They had this in many societies, tens of thousands, I'm not going to say tens of thousands of years ago, but definitely thousands of years ago and before whites. Read more. Individual freedoms are all under the idea that we are all made in the image of God and free will. Some Eastern nations still had slaves. Okay, that's a problem. Whereas the United Nations, Slave owners were the rich 1%. Yes, slaves were the rich percent. The anti-Semitics are going to say the slave owners were Jews. I'm not saying that. Not saying they weren't, because I'm willing to look into these tough questions too. I'm not scared of being called anti-Semitic. I'm going to tell you the truth. If I tell you the truth and y'all say I'm racist against whites, fine. You say I'm racist against Jews, fine. You say I'm racist against blacks. They got people calling me Uncle Tom for the stuff I say. I'm going to tell you the truth. To my knowledge. We are all free nations, and yet there is slavery in Africa. Yes, I don't know how much slavery they have in Africa, but the Africans don't have their shit together. The sub-Saharan Africans, there's a lot that they can do. Everyone can do more. I was from P-Matt. Okay, this is the last comment. It came 19 minutes ago. Meme son Roblox. I know about the Roblox from my little cousins. That's a game that the little kids play. I'm not sure if this is a child. This man, damn, bro. That video just come out yesterday, me responding to Emily. Nigga said I'm black fatigue. All right. I hate to end it on a bad note, but that was the last comment. So, look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. And if you like the episode, subscribe, share with friends, hit like, and leave a comment. As you can see, I'm checking it out, and I look forward to talking to you guys. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes going to talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to her hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime.